What is good, rookies? Welcome to our buy structure video for the 2025 season of Supercoach. Before we jump into the nit and gritty, I do want to say a quick thank you to all the support that you guys have shown on the last video and just to the channel in general. We've got probably the best performing video I've done so far. You guys have commented, you guys have liked, you guys have subscribed. It's been awesome. So I just want to say a quick thank you to you guys. Again, there's going to be semi-regular content preseason wise, and then we're going to get into the full flow of things once the season does officially start. I do also want to highlight that I do have an X account, just Rookie Coach AFL. Sometimes post match stats if I'm able to watch the match, or not stats, but just notes on players that we might be looking at. And on the watch list, speaking of watch list, I have given a little quick tease that I do have a spreadsheet in the making. I've already finished it. We could have some touch-ups about kind of like a watch list and just something to track it, because we obviously have a watch list in Supercoach, but this one, I don't know, just feels a bit better. I love my Google spreadsheets and Excel sheets. So if you guys comment on this post or on the video itself, which will be the one before or after this video, just comment if you want access to it. I'll create a public link and you guys can go ham with it. You either keep the same if you just want to keep your own tracks, make your own notes, or you can jig it up and use it as a base. So do what you must. But yeah, if you got a X account and you're on there fairly often, you'll probably see some good posts from me, just with content updates, match updates, all that sort of stuff. So give me a follow while you're over there. Jumping in. Now, I've got a rough team here. It's not my final team or anything like that. This is just kind of a rough team of some common players and some players that show us a bit of buy structure and what we need to look for. So, without further ado, before I get into it, structure-wise and like theory-wise around buys is quite important. I believe there are two camps. There are the camps that don't consider it or choose not to really think about it and just get the players they want and then trade into the buys, essentially using their trades to build their setup that they want leading into the buys. Or you've got the ones that plan from the start, structure their team with the buys in mind. I tried doing a bit of both and definitely leaned more into the trade into buys camp last season. Didn't work out that well. So before we get into any more theory crafting, as I will call it, let's get some extra IQ points here. What we're going to do is we're just going to look at, one, what are the buy rounds for this season? Again, I am a rookie coach. I am going to go through some basics and just go through some fundamental things. I'm not going to go too in depth about the theory that you should work with for your structures or anything like that. But we will do some things that may, show you how you can best try and plan for it. So let's just first of all look at what buys we have. So we've got 3 early buys starting in round 2. So we've got round 2 with the Suns and Giants. We've got round 3 with Lions, Collingwood, Cats, and Swans. And then we have round 4, which is Hawks and Essendon. Now these are the only set of buy rounds, so we've only got 3 to be worried about, and there's not too many teams included. So they're a little bit easier to kind of work around or plan for. Now, for these early buys in particular, whether you actually avoid having players in there to try and get the max points on field and all that jazz, that's definitely one way you can approach. The other way is you choose stronger rookies to cover any primos that may be missed. And then the theory behind that is that you have faith that your primo will actually make up the points over the rest of the season. I am tending to take that approach because I really want Whitfield. I think Whitfield's going to do amazing. However, as we can see here, I've got 2 Greater West Sydney players here. Now, if you remember correctly, the round 2 buy is the Suns and Giants. So I currently have Whitfield, Leake, and Lombard out. So what does this mean? Well, for the midfields, it actually means not that much because we've got plenty of cover. There's chances that we probably wouldn't be fielding him unless we had the ability to loop our rookies here to try and get the best scores. Now, when we say loop, all we're talking about is, if I move the screen down so you don't get blocked, is we look at to see where the games are played and if we have the ability to loop someone who isn't playing or isn't named, and we can try to loop 2 scores to get the better of them. Now, we can go through that later on, but just as a quick tidbit of information, that's what we're kind of looking at. So for our midfield, nothing changes. Ruck, nothing changes. Borderline and flex, nothing changes. Awesome. What about a defense though? In defense, we lose Whitfield and we lose Leake. So in this instance, we'd have to do a straight swap to Reed, hope that he plays, have faith that he plays and gives us some okay points. So, if Reed pulls in a 75 where our Lockie would have bought in maybe like 110, There's only about 35 points of difference, which we have faith by picking Whitfield that he will make up for long term over the season. The only caveat to this is, what if Reed doesn't play? What if Toby, doesn't play? Then we've got 2 donuts, or we've got 1 donut, and we don't have cover. This is a bit of a risk, bit of a concern, something I'm toying with. So something to consider when you have like 2 or more out of a line, you're most likely going to be using your rooks to cover. Are they 1, playing? Are they 2, sub-material, as in, are they going to get the vest? And 3, are they going to give you okay enough points? I mean, any points is better than a donut, but you don't want the difference between like what a primo or the person you're kind of exchanging for from the bench. You don't want that point difference to be too much. Like if it's like 70, and let's just say Reed gets injured and he only gives a 20, where Lockie would have got a 110. We've got a 90-point difference now. Lockie has to make up, and it's going to hurt. May not be the case though. So something to consider. Now, let's move into by round 3. So by round 3, we actually lose Perryman and Mills. So with that in mind, we would bring Lockie in for Perryman, Leak in for Mills. Now, as you can see, we kind of run into the same issue. We lose any cover whatsoever, and we're banking on our rookies, now 3 of them, all playing. Is that something that's liable? Toby probably has a really good run at getting through, up until round 3. But does Sinclair come back? Does Showmaker get ahead of him? Do any of the other rooks in line get an opportunity to step in with Sinclair out? These are all kind of unknowns at the moment. But this is why it comes down to choosing rooks that you think will actually play in lines that you think you might struggle to cover. So unfortunately for me, I question if I can get Perryman, because I lose Perryman and Mills. I question if I can get Leak, because that round 2 buy hurts. And that's like the sort of thinking that I have. Midfield wise, we'll lose Nevitt. We've got plenty of options to run here. These rookies aren't final or anything like that, so don't scrape at me for having like day weeks or anything like that. These are just examples, but we've got cover in this example. Rocks are fine. Forward, we've got Smith. We've got cover. Flex is there as well. But we'll get into flex at towards the end, just so we can utilize that. But this is kind of what we're going through, and then we're going to go around round 4, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go through the exact same process of going, okay, miss 1, 2 cover, perfect. Miss 1, we've got 2 cover, perfect. And that's how you can generally go. The tricky ones are the big ones. So we've got round 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So if we have a look here, a round 12 bye has Carlton, North, Port, and Bulldogs. Round 13, which is the easier one, has St Kilda and Freo. 14 has Collingwood, Suns, Sydney, and Richmond. 15 has Adelaide, Hawks, Melbourne, and Eagles. And last but not least, we have Lions, Cats, Bombers, and Giants. So pretty hefty bye rounds. Obviously, round 13 being the easiest because we only have 2 teams out, which is why you might see people stack up on Freo and St Kilda plays around this time or at the start to account for that bye structure towards mid-season. So if we look at round 12, we're actually missing a pretty decent amount of pretty much uber primos. We miss out on Sheasel, miss out on Butters, miss out on Sherry and De Koning if he's solo rocking, and Hort Francis and Daniel. Most people are probably looking at Daniel as a keeper. He's probably going to be top 6 forward if that role is there. So with this in mind, how do we look at this, and how do we translate this into a bit of a theory on how we can best handle it? So what we can do with this actually is make a call on whether we can cover and it's worth holding. Now, as I mentioned, there's 2 camps. There's planning for it at the start for the whole season, or there's trading into. And I personally believe, I think having a mixture of both and using both thoughts and structures is the best way you can work out of this, because you will probably trade into and out of the buys to make sure you have cover. Now, when it comes to Sheasel, would we trade out of him when we've got cover? Most likely not. We can see we've got Perryman on the bench, we've got Mills, and we can fix that around. That's fine. Butters, we miss out on, and we also miss out on Smith. However, Smith is a rookie and a stepping stone. Heatling is a stepping stone. Are we going to have these players by round 12? Most likely not. So then when we trade these players, it's best to keep in mind your buy structure and where you're lacking. From memory and from a few other content creators, you probably want max 5 players out or 5 primos out because the cover of that gets really shaky. Now, we obviously have more cover in the mid because we have 3. So again, the importance of having rookies playing on field or just actually playing and generating points is really important here because they're our cover. So Butters, we wouldn't trade out of unless he's doing shocking. Smith, he's a stepping stone, so this could be anyone we need. Now, when it comes to the sharing and deconning, if you have this combo, you're a bit stuck because maybe you just have, your R3 and maybe a forward ruck DPP player, maybe like Reed from West Coast. Maybe they can step in, potentially. But where are these guys going? Nowhere. Doesn't work. So you might have to actually trade out of one. If you've got a playing R3, you can switch and you should be fine. But if you've got 2 here on the same buy, a little bit sketchy. I personally do not like this combo with DeConning and Sherry for this reason of the buy, because no matter which way you spin it, you're going to have to trade out of one of these players and have a point generating R3, or at least, trade this player, turn it into someone who, again, is generating points just for cover. Now, we're assuming that Horn Francis is a keeper and is performing well. We want to keep him, so we'll have Hewitt cover him. We'll have Daniel. Now, he may be a stepping stone or a keeper, but we also see we've got Davidson here. Now, come this far into the season, we're probably not going to have Davidson. We're probably not going to have the rookies around here. They would have generated their cash by now and been long gone. So again, when we're trading our rooks and downgrading and stepping up and doing all that fun stuff, do keep buy structures in mind to fill the gaps where you are struggling. And we pretty much take that whole theory and move it into each buy round, knowing that worst case, we can trade out if we are required to. So let's just say that we're really actually keen on holding a lot of North players for the start of the season because they don't have an early buy and they can generate a lot of cash. You've got like McKercher, Parker, Daniel, Whitlock, a few others there that you can use to either generate you big points and get you ahead, so that by the time it comes to this buy round, you can comfortably kind of trade or sideways trade them for the time being to someone who's performing at that time. Rowan Marshall could be an example. Rowan Marshall could be actually having a really, getting better and better and better. Maybe he's got a better run after the buys or just before the buys, and you trade into him from like a DeConning, for example. These are the sort of things that you should be considering and the sort of thought process that goes along. And you pretty much repeat this for each buy until you're pretty happy with, one, you either have the plan for how you're going to handle it, knowing that if I keep X player, I need to do X and Y and Z, or you plan it from the get-go, round 1. And we can see here that for us, round 14, we Gucci. We lose some cover on the bench, but we've got our mains on the field. Round 16 or 15 gets a bit difficult because Day, we're hoping is a keeper. Oliver, we're hoping is a keeper. Peatling's probably a stepping stone. Langford won't be around. Allen won't be around. Hewitt won't be around. And that's the sort of thing. So if you see like your rookies, away for the buy, don't stress too much because they're probably not going to be around by there unless they're absolutely crazy and are generating at least, 80 Supercoach points and all that sort of stuff. They could just be invaluable cover that you just keep until you can trade them up to, a 500 plus player. But that's like the theory and like thinking you want to take into each buy and how you potentially want to structure your teams. Now, round 16, we can see we lose Whitfield, Leak, Reed. Whitfield is the only one we really care about. These 2 are probably going to be gone by then. So we only really lose 1. But don't worry about Nevitt. Smith we probably worry about, but we've got cover. Or we hope we've got cover. And that's how you would generally look at the buy structure. That's definitely how I'm looking at the buy structure. It's very basic, very simple. I'm not going to go into too much depth. I think just understanding that basis and just having a look at your team with that in mind will help put you on the right path to structure your team the correct way. Now, how you trade in, when you trade out of players, that's probably up for discussion. That really comes down to player performance, comes into your salary that you've got, how many trades you've got, have you got any boosts? There's so many things to consider with all this. But that pretty much wraps up the video, guys. I'd love to hear feedback on what you guys are doing for your buy structure. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? And overall feedback about the content I'm making. If you guys have a certain subject or certain topic that you guys want to cover, by all means, let me know in the comments. I know I think it was Jonas the Goat left a comment on the last video asking for recommendations on other content creators and who to go look for. There will be a video like that coming. However, that video is tricky because I don't want to pick favorites. They're all so good. And if you're still unsure on what other content creators there are from like really depth analysis and pretty much the value that I got when joining into this community, I listed them in my previous video in the description. So go check that out if you're looking for other creators. They're probably the most popular, but there's a reason why they're the most popular. It's because they provide so much value. So go check the video out, check the description. I will highlight there is a code for the Open League. Again, if we get around 200 subs or minimum 200 subs and at least 50 players in the league, we might be able to work out some prizes for the top 3. Small prizes, but hey, who doesn't love getting a little something from just playing Supercoach? So with that said, guys, looking forward to seeing you in the next video. The next one, either before or after this, will be the watch list. So keep an eye out for that. I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.